Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll discuss a 2021 action drama movie called Nobody. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. A handcuffed man who has been badly beaten reaches into his pocket for a cigarette. As he smokes, he slowly removes a tin of tuna from his jacket and opens it. He places a kitten that has emerged from his jacket onto the table. A man and a woman seated across the table questions him. Hutch Mansell is a seemingly ordinary man. He has 2 children from his successful wife Becca and an unremarkable job as an officer worker in father-in-law Eddie's metal fabrication company. The tedium of his daily routine is slowly wearing him down. His son Blake has no respect for him, not even bothering to greet him as he returns home. He gets into his bed at the end of the day, sleeping on the other side of a pillow that his wife has placed between them. A neighborhood dog barks. Hutch gets out of his bed and goes to investigate. He sees his daughter sleeping peacefully in her bedroom. As he proceeds downstairs, he hears a noise as the intruders break into the house. Hutch picks up a golf club. As he tries to make a phone call, the female intruder demands money as she holds him up at gunpoint. The male intruder demands his watch. Hutch sees a tattoo on female intruder's wrist. As they demand his wedding ring, Blake runs downstairs and tackles the man. Hutch is about to attack him with the golf club, but stops himself and commands Blake to let the intruder go. He allows them to get away. The attack on Blake results in him in getting a black eye. Blake is enraged with his father, causing him to drift even further away from him. The police arrive to investigate. Hutch thinks angrily about his decision not to stop the intruders. His family are disappointed with him and return to bed. Hutch goes downstairs to sleep on the couch and is joined by his young daughter Sammy. She is the only one who shows him any affection. She tells him that they need a cat. Blake asks Hutch if he could interview him for a project on veterans. Hutch responds that he's just an auditor, and Becca suggests Blake as his uncle, who was a real soldier. Hutch says Grandpa actually saw some action. The family leave the house to start their day. Sammy hugs him on her way. The neighbor tells Hutch that he would have beaten the intruders. He brags about his new car and explains that it was all he inherited and there is nothing to mourn. The tedium of his week begins again. When he reaches the factory, his obnoxious brother-in-law Charlie questions him why he didn't tackle the intruders. He offers Hutch his gun, which he declines. Charlie insists, telling him to keep his sister Becca safe. Hutch takes the gun, which he places inside an empty cardboard box at the back of the refrigerator. Eddie approaches Hutch to discuss his fair offer by the business. He tells Hutch that after a lifetime of hard work, he gets this great offer. Hutch tells him that he wants the business to have something that is his. After thoroughly watching the workmen of the factory floor, Hutch locks his office door and contracts his supposedly dead brother Harry on a radio hidden in his office. He explained to him that he had held back from attacking the intruders as they were young, scared and desperate, and that his old .38 Smith & Wesson gun was not loaded. Harry agrees with Hutch and also corrects him to his response, warning him to not do anything stupid. Hutch leaves work and travels to see his elderly father David, who asks him if he remembers who he used to be. Hutch sighs as he watches his family gather around the dinner table and walks into his home. Blake rarely greets him, while Becca asks him after his day. Sammy walks in saying that she cannot find her kitty cat bracelet, which was in the bowl with the money that the intruder stole. Hutch leaves and travels back to see his father, who tells him that he'd do better. He borrows his FBI badge and gun. Hutch travels through the city to the tattoo parlors, showing them the FBI badge. One of the customers laughs and tells him that the badge expired about 20 years before. They ask who he really is. He tells them he's just a man looking for someone and finds out his blindfold. He dares them to take the cash from him. They see the tattoo on his wrist, change their attitude, and thank him for his service. When the men ask him how it can help him, he points out a picture of a tattoo on the corner. They give him the address of the person who has it. Hutch walks towards the apartment. The young woman inside boils the kettles and calls her boyfriend, who enters the room with Hutch behind him. He threatens them at gunpoint and demands that they return their watch and the kitty cat bracelet. Their shouting wakes their sick baby and they beg him to leave. Hutch walks out into the rain and punches the alley wall repeatedly. He is consumed with sadness and rage. He boards the bus and sits at the back. A vehicle approaches rapidly, stops the bus, and 5 drunk Russian thugs approach. A young girl sits alone. The female bus driver looks afraid as she opens the door. They enter and intimidate the passengers as they approach Hutch, sitting quietly at the back of the bus. As they surround the young girl, Hutch stands up and walks through them, convincing the driver to disembark. He closes the bus door and faces the thugs, while pointedly removing the bullets from his gun. Hutch threatens them and they laugh. He unleashes his frustration and fury and beats them savagely. Although he is badly injured, he prepares to fight. He tells the young woman to run. She thanks him. The brutal fight continues. He sees one of the men loading the bullets into his gun and beats him with a steel pipe. He assists the man with a makeshift tracheotomy using a straw. As Hutch leaves the bus, he apologizes to the shock driver for the mess that he has made, and he walks away. He returns to his home and sees his wife sitting in the darkness. She asks where he went. He tells her that it was just old times and he misses her, as he gently cleans his wounds. He says she seems so far away and there is no intimacy in their marriage. He asks her if she remembers who they used to be, as he does. Becca removes the pillows that separates them in the middle of the bed and touches them gently. A passenger in a car rudely abuses his driver for passing the destination. Yulian Kuznetsov, who is a Russian mob enforcer, gets out of the car and walks across the street to Club Millenia. He walks onto the stage and sings and dances, and then walks through the crowd towards a group of men. He asks them if they're satisfied with the security of Upshark, which they are. Yulian introduces him to Pavel, who is his right-hand man. The spokesman for the group informs Julian that his singing and dancing does not inspire confidence into them as the guardian of their money. He responds by killing one of their stakeholders very violently and asks if the confidence is restored and proceeds to answer his cell phone. Julian stands at his brother's bedside. The man has severe damage to his brain. Julian assumes the attack is related to Upshock. One of the badly injured men in the ward raises his hand, showing Julian as a Metro card he has picked up during the fight on the bus. Hutch appears happy and confident as he prepares for his day. He informs his son Clark that he is proud of him for tackling the intruders. He receives a phone call from Harry, who tells him to meet with a man known as the Barber. He warns him that one of the thugs is the younger brother of Julian, who is very wealthy, dangerous, and psychopath. The Barber gives Hutch the information he needs and says Julian does not know who Hutch is yet. He says that Julian has to be obliged to avenge his younger brother, even though he despises him. The Upshock is an operation dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars on the move. Julian is the current caretaker and has grown tired of his responsibility. He is informed that Hutch's father lives in a nursing home downtown. They continue to check his location. The man at the Pentagon, who has been blackmailed by Julian's secretary, checks the archives of the information on Hutch. He is listed as nobody. He sends the information to Julian's office. Hutch is happy to be preparing a lovely meal for his family and suggests that they go to Italy. He sees a car approach and instructs them to go to the basement immediately. Julian has sent a crew headed by his right-hand man Pavel to attack Hutch at his home. Hutch is standing in the darkness and launches an attack of his own, killing most of the men. Pavel finally subdues him with a taser. They drag Hutch into the car and throw him into the trunk, where he dislocates his wrist to remove the handcuff. Hutch finds a fire extinguisher and uses it to blind his abductors. The car crashes into a traffic light. Before Pavel dies, Hutch tells him who he is. Hutch runs home to open the basement door to his family. Becca drives away with the children to a safe place. Hutch places the dead and injured men on his couch and starts to speak. He explains that he is a farmer auditor, as assassin employed by intelligence agencies to kill people who are considered untouchable or too difficult to arrest. He did his work professionally until he let a target he is supposed to kill for embezzling government funds to go free. For once, he had listened to the man before he killed him. A year later, Hutch found Ellen that had built a new life and family for himself and was very happy. Hutch decided to retrieve against their wishes of his superiors. Since then, he has done everything impossible to suppress the memories of his old life. He sees the kitty cat bracelet lying next to the pool of blood under the radio. Before leaving, he tells the dead men that bone burns to ashes at 1500 degrees without leaving a trace. Hutch acknowledges that deep down he knew his life was just a facade, which lasted longer than he expected. He sets his basement on fire and takes a photograph of his family with him on his way out. He steals his arrogant neighbor's prized car, and so he drives away. A car with two assassins arrive at a nursing home. They go directly to David's room and approach him as he pretends to be asleep. David kills them both. Hutch pours a bag full of gold bars on Eddie's desk and informs him that he is buying the company. Julian watches footage on the news and realizes that Pavel has been killed. Hutch closes the factory temporarily. His desk is covered with weapons and ammunition. Harry contacts him on the radio and Hutch tells him that he has a plan. Hutch drives to where the mob are counting. He removes a Van Gogh painting before he proceeds to set fire to Julian's priceless artwork and the piles of money. Hutch drives to the club to meet Julian and his henchmen. He reveals an exclusive device that was concealed under his napkin and holds a detonator in his hand. Julian goes berserk when Hutch tells him that he has burnt everything. Hutch tells him that he can either choose to come after him or that he can take the little remains and flee, and leaves the club. Julian angrily calls every man and his payroll, and they pursue Hutch to the factory. Unbeknown to Hutch, David and Harry are inside the factory, who help him eliminate the gangsters using a variety of weapons and deadly traps. They kill all the gunmen with the exception of Julian, who shoots and wounds Harry. Hutch charges at him with a claymore mine and attached to a bulletproof shield and detonates it, killing Julian. He thanks David and Harry as they leave when they hear the police car sirens approach. Hutch calls Becca and leaves a loving message. A kitten appears. He collects a can of tuna, a can opener, and leaves carrying the painting with his kitten wrapped in a jacket. Hutch is arrested by the police, only to be quickly released, with no charges filed. 3 months later, while buying a new house with Becca, Hutch receives a call suggesting that his services are still required. They ask the estate agent if the house has a basement. In a mid-credit scene, Harry and David are shown driving along a coastline to an undisclosed location in an RV filled with guns. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and bye!